there are big changes in our local governance. The number of council seats have expanded to 11 with the addition of 2 new districts. We can't cover all these races in the time allotted, so let's just sort of pick and choose. Mark, let's look at the executive race. 70% of Democrats in the primary voted for someone other than Mark Elrich. But is that going to transfer to votes for Reardon Sullivan?
Well, I think one of the challenges that Sully has in that is that David Blair, with the exception, I would argue, of land use policy, ran as a Democrat on just a host of issues. And so I'm not quite sure if there's as much of a sort of Venn overlap with his voters and the voters that would be voting for Sully, and that's a challenge for him, for Sully.
Well, if I can weigh in,
Sure.
I was a canary in the coal mine 4 years ago in the county executive race. And I think when I my run for county executive against Mark 4 years ago in the general election proved that independents can't win in Montgomery County, and actually that people are not going to stray the party line by and large. So I think the question is who shows up to vote, and what are independents going to do? That's really the only question that campaigns are looking at now, I think. And this is a problem for you folks on the Republican side because there are more Democrats who vote. And that's just the math problem.
An interesting challenge. And, there's very little controversy in this election with respect to our state, the state of Maryland. What is turnout going to be is going to be a big determinative factor here. Nancy, I wanted to go to you. This is an interesting year for the council because in addition to the new seats that have been created, we also have a lot of vacancies this year. So which races are you finding the most interesting?
I have to tell you, I think the issue of which races are most interesting were resolved in the primary. Again, do the Republicans have the steam? And have they been able to do the fundraising and the communication that they need to do to persuade voters to go on their team? That's the challenge for people. So again, I think it comes down to simple numbers of party votes. That's going to decide it. Nothing more than that. I don't think there are really any issues that people are burned up again. For folks who are really in the know, you might have an issue about Thrive or whatever, or cost of living or traffic, you name it. But I haven't seen that listed as campaign issues. And I'm a Democrat, so I haven't gotten a piece of political mail since the primary. And I think, at least on the Democratic side, they don't spend any money anymore. By and large, it's a waste. It's not necessary. The question is what's happening on your side of the equation. I leave it to you.
So, Mark, before I go to you, I'll just say that I had a conversation this week with one of the candidates, and I was really surprised when I asked this person what their main issues were. They really were touching on national issues, and I thought, where is your, given especially the district they're running, and I said, why aren't you running on crime? Why aren't you running on the lack of education in your district? Because the people you represent have had terrible test results coming out. So I would think those would be the issues people would run on. So which races are you most excited about? Which one do you think, which of your candidates is doing a good job?
Well, there are a couple, and they both have sort of distinct approaches. Missy Carr is running for state senate in 18. It's obviously an uphill race, but I think she's kind of talking through the issues and out.
Who's she running against, Mark?
State senator in 18. That's a different Chevy Chase. And so I think she's running a good campaign. The other approach is Dwight Patel, who's sometimes a participant on this show. was taking a different approach, which is he's running as a Republican and as a conservative on his issues. I don't think he's necessarily expecting to win on that platform, but is using that as a platform to talk about the issues, including the national issues and talking about crime and talking about the economy and talking about education and a big focus on STEM education in Montgomery County. So you kind of have two different approaches that candidates on the Republican side are taking.
Well, Dwight's, Nancy, as you know, running for countywide office.
Countywide at large.
That is a tough challenge.
Yes.
To run.
You have to have money. And you have to really knock it out of the park. You have to show up. You have to really work like this is the most important thing on the planet. I don't see that happening so much anymore. And this is a challenge. I will say, I think it's a shame that there aren't Republicans on the council, and that I don't think they're going to be there. But I do think it's a shame because I think at least the ones I've worked with, we've had them on the council, have been good, solid people, and they reflect our community.
Well, the last one on the council was Howard. Howie.
Well, that's how I served with Howie.
Yeah.
And I served with Betty and Cranky.
He was elected in 2000, Nancy. I'm old. That's a lifetime ago.
I know.
I know. It's sad. Anyway, as we're going to close out this section, I'll say that I have a very particular bias in favor of my leadership Montgomery classmate, Marilyn Balcom, who's running in District 2. Marilyn has been is a very level-headed person. I think, she may not be a Republican, but she'll bring a different flavor to the council. I also like the race in District 4 where Cheryl Riley is running, and in District 5 where Kate Woody is running against Kristen Mink. I think those are going to be interesting races. Like you all, I think it depends on turnout. So we'll have to wait and see what's going on.